Hi everyone, Herman here, and in this video, I want to share with you a story about the day that I learned the importance of sales. And I want to share with you the story because I now see sales as an extremely valuable skill. It's helped me a ton in my career. I actually see it as a survival skill, like learning to swim, learning to cook, learning to sell. I think it's that important. But before this day, I actually hated sales. Before the day that I am going to talk about in this story, I hated sales. I used to think it was manipulation. I thought it was you're shoving something down somebody's throat that they don't want, like you're forcefully convincing somebody to do something that they don't want to do. That's how I used to see sales. And so I want to tell this story because it might help somebody out there who sees sales the same way, who actually hates sales, but they really need it. And maybe it'll help somebody out there in their career. So anyway, that's why I'm making this video. I thought it would be helpful. So yeah, let's dive in. So I used to be a dance instructor for many years. And when I first started, I was working at this dance studio where the owner and I had made this deal to split the profits from my classes, to split the revenue from my classes 50-50. So I would bring in the students, I would teach the classes, and they would provide the space, and we would split it 50-50. Now, here's the thing. I knew I was losing money because I wasn't getting paid on what people paid. So whenever somebody would sign up, let's say they would pay $100 for 10 classes, right? 10 classes each. If they would take one class from that entire package, I would only get paid $5 because I would split whatever I taught. They wouldn't pay me for the entire package. Now, for me, I knew I was losing money, but I actually didn't care because what happened is that in this studio, they had somebody working the front desk who would sell my classes for me because I hated asking people to pay me for my classes, asking people for money. I actually, and that's for another story, I had a bad relationship with money, but I hated asking people to pay me for my classes, convince them to sign up for a package or to buy more classes. I can tell you a story when I was teaching salsa at a restaurant. And the classes were $10. I had announced that at the beginning of the class, saying, hey guys, the class is $10. I taught the class at the end where people were supposed to pay. I would get super shy and I would just say like, hey guys, thank you so much for coming. My name is Hervin. And if you enjoy the class, so the class is $10. But I would say it like real quiet, like the class is $10. Hoping that, somebody would hear me or not hear me. I don't know. I was just super shy and awkward about asking people to pay me for my classes and getting people to sign up and so on. And so anyway, at this studio, they had somebody at the front desk who was doing the sales for me, which I really liked. And yeah, that is why I stuck there for so long. In fact, my dream, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but my dream was never to get good at sales. My dream was like, I thought if I would become the best dancer and the best salsa dancer, at least in like my state or in the world, or something like I had high dreams. I'm like, I'm going to become the best salsa dancer in the world. I had read this book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. So The Outliers. It talked about the 10,000 hour rule. To get world class at anything, to become world class at anything, the book explains that you need to spend 10,000 hours practicing that craft, right? So that was my goal. I had done the math, and to get to the 10,000 hours, it required 10 years of practicing 3 hours a day, and that's what I was doing. I was practicing every day for 3 hours, trying to get really good, because I thought if I get so good, I'm not going to have to do any selling. My work is going to do the sales for me. So all I have to do is get really good, and then people are just going to come to me and throw money at me. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's what I thought. I'm like, I'm just going to get so good that people are just going to want to buy my classes or something like that without me having to convince them. Or anyway, so that's what I thought. I thought I need to become really good and people would just come to me and sell, and in the meantime I'm okay like making nothing. Now what changed for me is a hurricane, and this is kind of weird just to say this, but stick with me. So I am in Florida, and here we get hurricanes pretty much every year. And so there's this one hurricane that came to Florida, and it like hit where I was staying at, where I was living, and it actually flooded my apartment. So I was renting this apartment right by the beach. And yeah, so anyway, the apartment got hit by this hurricane and it flooded. And I had to ask my landlord to give me, to not charge me for rent. In fact, to give me a refund for the rent that I was paying, and to also help me find a place to stay or something like that. I can't remember what it was. It was almost like he should waive the rent. And anyway, I felt so bad because I was like, whoa, it's not his fault. If anything, I'm paying to be here. And so I felt really bad calling my landlord and asking him to give me my rent back, or to allow me to skip rent. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I remember calling my landlord, and my girlfriend, who's not my wife at the time, my girlfriend was sitting right next to me. She's hearing my calls. She's hearing my call with the landlord, and she sees how flustered I am, how nervous I am, how awkward I am when it comes to me asking my landlord to waive my rent, to give me back my rent. I can't remember. And she's seeing me go through this, and eventually she starts coaching me on the call about what should I say. And long story short, I mean, the call ended fine. The landlord ended up waiving my rent or giving me back my rent. I felt so pathetic having gone through that, and just having her see me. I'm supposed to be the guy who provides or whatever. I don't know. I'm supposed to be the man in the relationship, and I'm supposed to be the one negotiating, and I'm supposed to be the one that, the guy who makes stuff happen. And I felt pathetic talking to this person on the phone, talking to the landlord on the phone, and having her see me struggle through it and then coaching me through it. So I thought, man, I need to get good at this. I need to get good at negotiating, confrontation. These are all things that I needed help with. And I started Googling how to get good at negotiating, and eventually I found this guy. His name is Grant Cardone, which it just happens to be a popular YouTuber. He's a little bit aggressive and pushy and cringy, but back then it's exactly what I needed. So he had some videos of him negotiating live deals with people. And again, this was nothing I would have paid attention to in the past, but I felt so bad about myself and how pathetic I had looked in front of my girlfriend. And I thought, I just need to get good at this. And so I started watching these videos of him negotiating live deals. And I thought, now I see him, and yeah, he's just super aggressive and super pushy and cheesy. But back then I'm like, man, this guy has some confidence around money that I need. How is he able to just ask people to sell him, to buy stuff, to sell? How is he selling his stuff so well? I just was impressed by the fact that he didn't have any inhibitions around selling, and I did. And so I watched a ton of his YouTube videos. I probably went on a YouTube binge for days of just watching any piece of content that he had out there. And I started taking notes. I started seeing how he was able to turn situations around in his favor by what he was saying. And so I thought, at some point I need to give this a shot. And yeah, let's fast forward now to this day a second, to the day that I learned the importance of sales. I felt the power of sales. So let me give you the before and after. So it used to happen like this. I used to get phone calls for people who wanted to take my dance classes. And when it comes to Latin dance classes, there are two styles. So there's salsa and then there's bachata. So those are the two most popular Latin dance styles. And I would get phone calls sometimes. So I was only teaching salsa, but I would get phone calls from people who were also interested in bachata. And so they would call and they would say hey, I saw that I found you guys online. Do you guys offer bachata classes? And I used to say no, we don't offer that. We offer salsa classes. And then they would say awesome, no problem. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. And then that was that. That was the end of the call. I would say no, we don't offer bachata classes. We offer salsa. They're like, oh, no, I'm only interested in bachata. So then the call would end. And that's kind of, I would say okay, good. Well, good luck finding bachata classes somewhere. This day, after watching all those sales videos from Grant Cardone, I remember this call vividly. So this guy calls and he's like, hey, I'm calling about bachata classes. You guys offer bachata? And I'm like, no, we only offer salsa lessons. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not interested. I'm only interested in bachata. So Yeah, thank you guys. And I was about to hang up like I would usually do, but I was like, hey, sir, hold on a second. Why are you interested in learning bachata? And he says, because I want to dance with girls out on the club. And I said, oh, that's awesome. And do you already know how to dance salsa? And he said, yeah, I kind of defend myself. I have some moves. And I said, well, from 1 through 10, like how good do you think your salsa moves are? Like how good are you able to defend yourself? Are you really good? Like somewhere in the middle? And he's like, no, I'm probably like at a 5. And I'm like, okay, so what would you think happens if you go out to the club and you were a 10 out of 10 when it comes to salsa dancing? And he's like, oh man, I like girls will be wanting to dance with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. Like you don't need to learn how to dance bachata. You could do salsa. Actually, salsa, it's harder at the beginning when you first learn it than bachata. So if you learn how to dance salsa, you'll naturally pick up bachata. I actually never took a bachata class, yet I learned it because I knew how to dance salsa. And I told this to this guy, and he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, look, if you come here, I know we can take you from a 5 to a 10 when it comes to salsa dancing. And it's gonna help you get the girls dancing with you at the club. Girls are gonna line up to dance with you at the club. I was a little bit cheesy, but yeah, that's how the call went. And he says like, okay, so when are the salsa lessons? And I was actually able to turn that call around in my favor. And that's the day that I felt that's the day that I felt the power of sales, that I learned the importance of sales. I'm like, oh my God, I am more in control than what I thought previously. I was leaving so much money on the table by not like, instead of just hanging up with people who are like, I want bachata and I don't offer bachata lessons, and then they would hang up. I would have a lot more control just by asking the right questions and like getting people to see, like helping people or understanding what people wanted and why they wanted what they wanted, and then provide my solution as the thing that would help them get to where they wanted. That's what I now like. Part of how I see sales is like understanding people and what they want, and then helping them see how what you have helps them achieve what they want, right? And it's not about shoving something down somebody's throat. It's about genuinely trying to understand what somebody's goal is, why are they trying to do something, and then helping them see that your product, that your service actually helps them do what they want. And then, yeah, you don't have to convince them. You just got to let them know, like, hey, you're looking for this. Our product can do this. Like, you were looking for this because you wanted to achieve this. Our product helps you achieve this, right? So that is sales, but it's a lot of understanding. It's a lot of asking questions. It's a lot of being curious about the other person. It's not about being slick or shoving something down somebody's throat. So anyway, that's the day I learned the power of sales. Ever since then, I'm like, man, I gotta get really good at this. I actually, like, that was a pivotal moment in my life, because from there on, I started becoming more and more interested in sales, which led me eventually into business. But yeah, I hope this helps somebody. Sales isn't something about, it isn't about manipulation. It isn't about like being aggressive or being pushy. It's an extremely valuable skill set. I highly recommend you learn it. And as cheesy as Grant Cardone is and as pushy and as aggressive as it is, the book Sell or Be Sold actually helped me tremendously. So I would actually recommend that, especially if you're some like creative worker, like an artist, or yeah, you sell your own services. Highly recommend that book, just to even give you a little foundations when it comes to sales. There are much better books when it comes to sales, or people that I would learn from, which I can make another video about. But that book at the beginning, just to get some internal motivation and like learning the power of sales, that has helped. And I've recommended it before to other people, and it's helped them as well. So yeah, go check it out. Sell or Be Sold. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this video, for watching. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.